Love has many shapes. Sometimes it comes with fireworks and grand gestures. Sometimes it walks in quietly, sits down in your life and never leaves. This is the story of Oliver and Jennifer, two people who find each other in a library, share cheap coffee, dream in a small apartment, fight life together, and discover what love truly means. It's not just a romance. It's a journey through joy, struggle, loss, and the kind of connection that survives even when one heart stops beating. The story of Oliver was a serious young man, studying law with heavy books and a heavier sense of duty. Jennifer was a music teacher, full of warmth, humor, and the smell of winter air and pencil shavings from the school where she taught children. They met in a library, not in some magical, sparkling moment, but in the way most great stories begin, quietly. She was at the desk, flipping through sheet music, was buried in case law. She teased him for frowning too much, teased her for humming while reading. And so it began. Their first dates were not candlelit dinners in expensive places. Were cups of cheap coffee from a corner cafe, walks in the cold city air, sharing ideas, making each other laugh. There was a spark, but more than that, was comfort, as if they had known each other far longer than they really had. Soon, they moved into their first place. It was tiny, barely big enough for a bed, a table, and their dreams. Radiator was stubborn, the curtains too thin, and the oven seemed to sulk when asked to work. The floor squeaked under their feet, but they loved it. It was theirs. On weekends, they would explore the city on foot, stopping to watch street performers, buying coffee they could hardly afford, and holding hands like the world belonged to them. Money was always tight. At the end of the week, they would count coins, stretch one chicken into 3 meals, and laugh about it like it was a game they were winning. Sometimes they argued about dishes, noise, or missed buses, but their fights were soft at the edges, because both knew they were on the same side. They dreamed out loud. A little house one day, maybe a garden, maybe children. But their dreams were never made of gold and diamonds. They were made of open windows, secondhand furniture, music on Sunday mornings, and the miracle of waking up next to each other. Oliver worked hard in law school, not only for himself, but to deserve Jennifer's trust. When he won a small competition, they celebrated with 1 slice of cake, 2 forks, and laughter that made strangers smile. Sometimes he thought of his father, but pride kept him from calling. Jennifer never pushed. She would just hold his hand, in silence, letting him find his way. Then came the months when they tried for a child. Month after month, nothing happened. They joked about it, stayed patient, but a thin thread of worry wove itself into their days. After many tests in cold hospital rooms, the doctor called them in. His words were careful. There was an illness. It was serious. It was not anyone's fault. The future, which once looked long and bright, suddenly narrowed. They stepped out of the hospital into sunlight that felt wrong. On a park bench, Jennifer leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, "Let's live well today." And they did. Oliver took on more work. Bills piled up with cold numbers. Swallowing his pride, he went to his father for help. His father wrote a check, but also gave opinions Oliver didn't want to hear. He took the money anyway, hiding its source from Jennifer so her courage wouldn't turn into guilt. Treatments began. Long hours, quiet rides home. Jennifer's hair thinned, her hands grew cold, but her spirit never bent. She joked with nurses, complimented strangers' scarves, and played piano when she could. Not to win against the illness, but to stay herself inside it. Oliver learned to cook badly, but with love, to fold blankets tight to carry her gently. Friends brought soup and stories. The city kept moving, and they moved with it, slower, but still together. One night, she asked about the money. She read, his face like sheet music. He told her the truth. She was upset. Not because he took help, but because she had wanted them to be brave without the past. Then she took his hand and said, "It's still us." Winter came, and the hospital became their second home. Oliver read to her newspapers, law books, silly gossip, anything with words. She asked for light topics because silliness was medicine too. They remembered the library, the first coffee, the tiny apartment that made them feel rich without money. Sometimes she slept with her hand in his. Sometimes she watched snow and said it looked like music falling. One evening, she told him, "Love is not a bargain or a performance. It is staying when it's hard. It is listening when there are no answers. Just putting your heart in someone else's hands and trusting them not to crush it." He listened until those words became part of him. The last evening came quietly. Jennifer was tired but clear. They spoke about their past, wrapping every memory like a warm blanket around them. She thanked him for the library, the cheap coffee, the courage. He thanked her for teaching him to be a person before a name, for making poverty feel like freedom. Her breathing slowed. He held her hand as if he could keep her there. He couldn't. She left as softly as the last note of a song. After the days were pale, Oliver wandered like a man who had forgotten how to carry his own weight. He visited the places that remembered her, the library desk, the concert hall lobby, the park bench. The world kept turning. He even went back to his father. This time, the anger was smaller. His father offered no solution, just a clumsy, honest apology wrapped in love. Oliver let it in. Forgiveness, he realized, wasn't forgetting it was. Choosing not to carry the stone anymore, he finished law school. He became a man who listened more than he spoke. He kept one of Jennifer's scarves on the chair by the window and watered the plant she loved, even when it pretended to die. Sometimes he heard the memory of her piano and smiled. Ow! Sometimes he cried without shame. He knew now what love had given him. Not a perfect life, not a long life, but a true one. Asterisk, this love story is brief in years, but enormous in meaning. It begins in a library and ends with a man who has learned how to live. Jennifer's gift to Oliver wasn't safety, wealth, or success. It was a heart that understood kindness, accepted help, and forgave. Their time together was like a small lamp in a vast night, and that light, once lit, never truly went out. Asterisk, thanks for watching. If you really like the story, please do share, subscribe, comment on my channel, World Stories. See you on the next video.